Good evening and salutations, my YNR fans. So let's start off with Billy and Nick. So Nick comes to Billy and he's like, "Yo, listen, did you talk to Victoria? Did you sit there and try to, have her come to her senses?" And Billy more or less is just like, "No." Um, water. Billy's pretty much like, "Yo, Victoria is determined to do this plan by herself, and she does not want help from anyone whatsoever." And, Nick is kind of worried about that. Nick, hell, actually, to tell you the truth, he wants to go down to Tuscany just to make sure that Victoria's okay because Billy's like, Victor's, you know, um, bodyguards are going to be that they're accompanying them. But they both feel like that probably won't be enough. The thing is, when Nick was like, I'm just going to fly down there, Billy was like, it's a bad idea and it's just going to, push her even further. So unfortunately, throughout this entire conversation, the only thing that Nick came to realize is that Victoria's just going to do this by herself, regardless. Um, and he's just going to have to sit there and sit it out and wait. Um, he does get a text from Victoria later on. Now, before I get into that, because I got to try to explain this in some sort of order that makes sense. Um, The scene with Victoria and Ashlyn pretty much went nowhere. It went nowhere because it was the exact same conversation that they talked about, I think, Friday, where Victoria was there pointing the blame, pointing the finger at Adam as far as being the one that's trying to take Ashlyn down. Um, Pretty much giving them all the means, the motives, and the opportunity. Just really trying to um, shift the narrative to have him focus on Adam while she works on her own plan, which is it's smart. Don't on one hand, it's smart. On the other hand, it's like, wow, you pretty much pointed a target on Adam's back. And I get that you have this plan to sit there and try to take him down, whatever this plan is that you're not going to tell anyone yet. But what is Adam going to do in the meanwhile while Ashlyn is that they're trying to take him down? Or even worse. Meanwhile, Victor comes to Ashlyn. Victor comes to Adam's office with Sally, and Adam is really excited about this new project that he's going to be doing, and Sally backs him up, but then Victor calls him out as far as trying to take advantage of the situation, and more or less kind of tells him to slow his roll, like, yo, listen, you're temporary until Victoria gets this whole thing, with Ashlyn taken care of. Um, And after a while, while Victor does appreciate Sally's input as far as, really helping his son out, he's just like, yo, you know what? Why don't you just give us some space and just some time to talk? Just, father and son kind of thing. After Victor tries to give some, I guess, words of wisdom as far as how to deal with Sally and stuff like that, he does eventually listen to the ideas that Adam has to offer. And there's one point where Adam's like they're talking about this streaming service or housing or something like that. I'm not exactly too sure about the finer points of their business, but he does propose an idea. And Victor's like, okay, all right, let's do it. There's one point where even I'm just like, wait, you actually said yes? I mean, I haven't been watching the show that long, but trying to get this man approval, it's like you have an easier time trying to climb a mountain at this point. So the fact that he actually said, yeah, he was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Even I was shocked. And I just more or less started watching this show. Um, Now, towards the end of the episode, Victoria calls um, Victor and tell Adam to come in the office. And when it gets, when those two get there, because Ashlyn was sitting there talking to the pilot and, talking about the weather and this, that, and the third. And Ashlyn and both Victoria kind of realized that Victor was the one that, was behind installing the plane. So after Victoria kind of calls him out on that, Victoria also calls Nick. Well, texts Nick to come to the office. Nick gets there. Nick is like, all right, listen, are you going to sit there and tell us the plan? I mean, you don't have to let me in, but, me not knowing is going to make me worry even more. And so Victoria's like, all right, I'm going to sit there and tell everyone as soon as Nikki gets there. Meanwhile, while they're having this little secret get together, um, Ashlyn is at Adam's office with some white gloves, I guess, ready to sit there and kind of dig in to see what he's going to find in his laptop. What should be interesting because I'm like, all right, well, do you know his password? I don't know. He's going to somehow try to get into that laptop, sit there and see what his plans is as far as trying to take him down. Which is, you know what? He may actually find something. I mean, not the evidence that he thinks he's looking for, but I mean, let's be honest. Adam is that they're trying to take him down, so it's not like he's not going to find anything. He just may not find exactly what he's looking for. Um, yeah. Unfortunately, for the most part, this episode does kind of go downhill. Now, before I get into the rest of the episode, I was sitting there reading something on Google as far as would it be a good idea for Ray to be on B&B? And I'm like, well, if they're gonna use him, yeah, but to be honest, it would make zero sense. Um, anyway, Ray's not there talking to Chance about him, come back to the force and making sure that he's ready and he's all good and everything like that. They talk about Davon as far as how he doesn't feel he has the same bonding experience with little Dom as much as um, Davon does. And Ray opens up about his feelings with Nick as far as like because Nick and Sharon they got kids and stuff like that. Um, and every time he's there, Ray kind of feels like he's he's looking on the outside or looking on the inside. He feels like he's how do you sit there and say yeah, on the outside looking in, you know. I guess just the relationship that Nick has with his kids and everything like that, it just, he just feels kind of like an outsider. Now, the thing is, the reason why that's so important, why I actually mentioned that, because they talked about some other stuff, but to be honest, it was kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. Is because at some point, they all get together, well, they get together with Abby and Chelsea. And there's one point where Ray and Chelsea go get food or dessert or something like that. And, while Chance is sitting there talking, he's like, yeah, Ray told me, and, you should just, keep this to just yourself or whatever. That, Ray feels some sort of way as far as whenever Nick is there, just feeling like the outsider, because, they're bonding and stuff like that. But I'm like, Ray, it, I mean, like Chance, he literally told you that. I mean, granted, he didn't sit there and say like, "Hey, just keep it to yourself." But it's like I don't want to sit there and say it's the guy code thing, but like when you're opening up to him, he's opening up to you. That's not okay. 2 minutes later, let me sit there and tell. I mean, here's the thing. I know that when you're married and stuff like that, you're supposed to sit there and share everything, and things of that nature. But I felt like this isn't one of those things that she needed to know. Like she didn't need to know that Ray feels some sort of way as far as Nick, um, you know, whenever Nick comes in and talks to his children and stuff like that. Like she didn't need to know that. So why did you feel the need to tell her that? And I get that he was kind of opening up too, as far as like him being excited to go back to the force and just talking about his feelings with as far as Devon is concerned. But that was unnecessary. And I felt like I'm not gonna sit there and say it was breaking like guy code, but I felt like that was just wrong. You know? Like, even if that is your wife, I still felt like it was wrong because it was unnecessary. And I also feel like later on that is going to come back, and Nick is going to find out eventually, and Ray is going to be. Well, I was just gonna say Ray's going to be pissed, but the actor may not actually be there anymore, so who knows? Unless they recast him, then yeah, that's still gonna that's that's still gonna there's gonna be some trouble down the line. And before they all got together, Abby and Chelsea were spent there just talking about Chance and how he's doing and everything like that. And Adam, as far as Chelsea, how she feels about him and how they come, how they came to some sort of understanding. Because Chelsea, I'm assuming, and this is just the stuff that I've gotten from the show. Chelsea wanted to be with Adam, but Adam was like, "Yo, listen, we went that road one too many times, and yeah, I'm not doing that again." And eventually, she had to come to had to come to terms with it and realize that Adam was right. But I only felt like she said that like afterwards, you know. Like I don't know. Again, I haven't really watched the show that long, but I feel like I don't know if she's saying that because it sounds good or is it just something that she actually believes. You know, it's it, it's sort of like a breakup where it's like, yeah, she wanted to call it quits, and I couldn't understand it, but eventually, I kind of seen it her way, and it's like, no, I didn't. I still want to be with her. I'm only saying that because that actually sounds like the right and mature thing to say. Um, so yeah, and then they talked about the tickets and everything like that, and eventually Chelsea gave Ray the tickets so they can go and see the hockey game with her son. So yeah, not gonna lie, this episode it didn't really do anything for me. And the sad part is that I felt like I missed a really good episode yesterday to an episode today that seemed very mediocre at best. And again, besides the Victoria and Ashland stuff, everything else was just kind of like, hmm, hell. To be honest, the rest of this episode felt so boring that I feel like I missed something. I know I don't think I did, but I feel like I did. Anyway, I feel like that's pretty much about it. If you didn't watch this episode, it's you really didn't miss anything. Um, Hell, Victoria didn't even sit there and tell them the plan. Um, so I guess we're just gonna wait for her until tomorrow or like Monday. Anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. I also want to thank everyone for their patience. Um, I said in my other videos, but I'm saying this one too. So, I think the day before, I had a really, obviously the day before, I had a really bad case of just insomnia. And I only had an hour's worth of sleep. So, I felt like the video, like, I felt like my heart just wouldn't have been in it. And there's been a lot of times where I've done, not a lot of times. But there's times where even when the episode is kind of so-so, I have a lot of fun just talking about it. Even if I get to talk about like the dumbness in the episode, it's still fun. Um, but I felt like my heart wasn't going to be in it, and it was just like, you know what? Let's just not do the video. And I always feel like people who watch my videos, even when it comes out super late the next day, it's like I want to give them the best version of myself because you're watching, you're taking the time, and that really means a lot to me. So yeah, thank you for your patience and your understanding. And with that being said, I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching. Be safe, and I will see you in the next video.